Welcome to another AVID chat. Jack, good to see you as always.
Good to see you, Dave.
I'm David Harpo, if I didn't throw that in there, but we do these weekly, and today we're going to talk about something that is a common theme that we come across, but we tend to work with a lot of couples. Jack and I are both in a relationship, so we have spouses, and we both would agree, opposites attract. There's
Yes.
a yin and yang to our relationships on a personal level, and 100% that intertwines with our financial decisions and the way we handle money and talk and think about money. So today's chat is on that subject. Jack, I know you came across some good stuff this past week and have some things to share. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah, so I came across a more or less a summary of some other research that has been done. And the summary is more or less kind of this tightwads versus spendthrifts type of personalities. I guess you'd call them spending personalities. And an overview of that and a number of kind of insights in regards to that. So I did not know this, but there's been I guess there's been research done on kind of this dichotomy between the two. You have like a tightwad type of person, a spendthrift type of person. It's very similar to like a personality, big five personality thing.
Right.
There's kind of, maybe 15% of people are on the spendthrift side, 25% of people, I think it was, is on the tightwad side. And then in the middle, they called everybody a kind of a unconflicted spender, which I don't really buy. I think it's just the levels. I think everybody somewhat, leans one way or the other. But there's a couple of cool things in there. One is just that there's been research done on these things. But I think a key thing about this is it's not frugality versus, greed or they call it spendthriftness, but it's not like I don't care. It's really most people fall on a spectrum of pain of paying, where tightwads experience high levels of pain with just even parting with the money, just the act of paying, whereas spendthrifts just don't have that. They just don't feel that at all, separating themselves from the money. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about it is it's not like I'm a tightwad or I'm a frugal person per se. It's a pain of pain scale. So it was interesting to read through because that has implications. One, tightwads tend to want to be more like maybe a little bit looser with the money. Spendthrifts tend to say, I wish I did a better job at not spending my money. They each want to be better and move closer towards the maybe unconflicted or, not be as tightwad versus spendthrift, I suppose.
And was there like some sort of percentage that talked about the spendthrift and the X percent of those want to be more tightwad? Because I do think and maybe this is in the paper as well, that there are some spendthrifts that there's nothing wrong with what they're doing and they have no desire or reason to change. So I don't know if that was.
That's a good question. It did not say anything about 100% of people who fell into the spendthrift or the opposite. 100% of the people that fell into the tightwad version want to go the other direction. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure there's some people that just say, I'm fine. I think this is fine how things are going. But there is some, I guess, enough consistency for it to be the case that they do each want to work back towards maybe the middle, I guess you would say.
Right. A little bit more even keel, not too extreme.
Yes.
I find it very interesting. I don't know if you can.
Right. So, it was interesting because it's one thing, you're an individual. It's one thing to be by yourself and feel those ways. It's another thing, obviously, you get together with somebody who is maybe your opposite. And one of the things they keyed in on was, normally if people get into a relationship, or at least when you associate with somebody, you feel like you'd want to be with people that they think alike to you, right? Kind of getting along with the other person. They have similar views to you. What they found is that people that were spendthrifts or people that were tightwads tended to almost, in a way, seek out the other version to improve. Maybe this person, I'm more of a tightwad, this person that's more of a spendthrift can move me more that direction, and vice versa. So it tended to, funny enough, and we've talked about this many, many times, frustratingly enough, it's an opposites attract situation, is that those kinds of people actually end up getting together in an opposites attract kind of thing, which is you go into it thinking this will improve me. I'll be a little bit looser. I'll be a little bit tighter with my money. That'll be a good thing. But you get into it. That's frustrating because
Right.
now you have different views and you kind of butt heads a little bit on these two things, which is in so common. It feels like almost every time we are working with couples that that's how it is.
Yeah.
It's almost every time is one person's much more free with it and much more, what you would call that abundance. I'm more of a spendthrift and you can't keep it and YOLO type of thing. And the other version's like, no, you got a plan and much more,
Right.
tighter with the money. It's so frequent,
Yep. So let's just clear the air if you're wondering. In my relationship with my wife Melissa, I'm the tightwad and she would be considered the spendthrift.
All right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's just it. And it's perfect. And we do have a unique way of communicating. We do have the ability to sit down with a very trusted financial planner that we do happen to like outside of business too. But those meetings are actually very beneficial to both of us. And I do this for a living. And I also
Yeah.
think the point that you make about the spendthrift, well, both sides, it's not a negative, right? It's not just frivolously spending money with no care. There's just no kind of tough feeling that comes around with it. Whereas I do have a hard time sometimes spending the money. So I guess I'm a tightwad. I don't know why tightwad has a harder feeling to the term than
Yeah.
spendthrift, but
Yes.
maybe that's because I am the tightwad. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, the terms, it's funny because you do think the tightwad has a much more negative connotation to it. A
Yeah.
spendthrift does too, but I for whatever reason, I just don't, I think tightwad has more of a negative connotation
Yeah.
to
I
it.
mean,
I'm not really sure.
I don't feel like a tightwad and I spend money and
Yeah.
I enjoy experiences and spending money. So it's interesting how they came up with the terms. But to clarify that it's not a negative and it's not like I'm hoarding cash on one side or I'm burning cash on the other side, I think puts us
Yeah.
into context pretty accurately, definitely from our experience as professionals.
Correct. I would think of it like there's like the big five personality scales, which is like, I'm not going to go through all of them. I guess one of the most popular or common ones that people talk about is kind of extroversion. There's people that are very extroverted, people that are very introverted. Those things are not, it's not a right, wrong. It's just, I'm more extroverted. I'm more introverted. I can fall somewhere on that scale too. So some people are more in the middle. Some people are way more introverted or way more extroverted. So it's not a right or wrong. It's just like I fall on this scale in a particular place, and it's sometimes those work to my advantage and sometimes those work to my disadvantage. I don't
Right.
think it's any different to say I'm a more introverted person. I would associate with more extroverted people because I want to be more extroverted. It's just difficult for me, and there could be people that are vice versa. So yes, it's not a negative thing. It's just a
Right.
scale. The terms, the labels maybe have a negative connotation to them,
Yeah.
but some people would say introversion, extroversion have negative connotations. I guess depending. So one thing that was interesting was one is the opposites attract, but they also talked about the context matters in terms of trying to get people to overcome whatever their preference is. So, for example, if somebody's more of a tightwad and they want to be a little bit more free with their money, if they could somewhat tie what they were doing to some kind of value, it was easier for them to separate the money. A virtue, I guess, is what they say. It's like if I feel like I'm giving to charity, or I feel like I'm helping somebody, or I'm doing, it's easier for me to get rid of it. I guess you would say they're much more in tuned with what they think is wasteful spending. So that
Right.
if I can tie some value to it and I feel that it's purposeful, easily I can get rid of the money if I'm a tightwad. The other side was I'm a spendthrift and I want to not spend as much. Those people, that if you could give them a trade-off. So yes, if you spend money on X, it means you're not spending money on Y, and Y could be more important to you. Man, we hit up with these phone calls.
I know.
Gosh,
You gotta silence the Zoom.
Zoom's killing me with these phone calls. Anyways, so you have a spendthrift would say, if you can somehow visualize or kind of bring these trade-offs to the surface, I'm buying X, which means I'm giving up Y. I value Y more importantly. I won't spend money on X. There's a lot of times but those things aren't always top of mind. But if you could make them
Right.
top of mind, spendthrifts are more likely to not spend the money. And I think those things are very common. It's almost like two sides of the same coin. It's if you tie the spending, tie the use of the money to a value, whether that's just realizing there's a trade-off, I'm giving up something that's more valuable to me, or I'm tying my spending to a value that's important to me, I can actually improve the other direction like I want to anyways, which I thought was very interesting. Mostly it comes down to if I can be more purposeful with it, I can overcome my preference either direction, which I thought was pretty interesting, which is our experience.
100%. I mean, as you're describing that, I'm thinking this is not irony that we're back to the value conversation. Whether you're saving it, spending it, you're somewhere in between, most satisfaction comes from both of those when there's purpose behind it, right? We talk about creating a purpose-driven money system, which is a way to put a system in place that is attached to your saving and your spending that's very deliberate, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the example of somebody comes in and says, oh, yeah, I just wish we could travel more. I'm picking on this one, but it's an easy one. I wish I could travel more. And then you get into the kind of weeds of their financial habits, and they're spending money in areas that they really don't care that much about. A great example, especially in today's age, with the price of cars and how much it is to own a car, not just the payment, the insurance, the upkeep, all those things, and they never drive it. It literally sits in the driveway, and they'd rather be traveling. Well, that's a trade-off. That's just, but it's hard to get to that until you have conversations around what is most valuable, Jack, Jessica, what are your preferences? What do
Yeah.
you guys think about this? And then we see really, I think, true satisfaction come from those decisions once the values really are uncovered.
Yeah. Of course, the opposite could be true. People could say, I want to have a great car. I'm spending too much money
Absolutely.
on things I don't care about. So obviously cars are easy to
Absolutely.
pick on, but it could go either direction. Yes.
Yep.
I think that's a great point. And again, the biggest thing that I took away from that was that people, if they're tying their money decisions to some kind of value, one is for the tightwads to just explicitly say, oh, this is some virtue, this is some value that I hold true to myself. I don't mind it. I don't think about it at all. It really doesn't bother me to part with the money. I feel like it's being made good use of. And then the opposite version, like I said, is just I'm tying this to some value. I'm giving up some value in order to spend this money. If I can just be more aware of the trade-offs that I'm making, I can do a better job. I just thought like those are little things that you can change that has nothing to do with anything crazy. It's just being a little bit more aware of
Right.
what's going on and making better decisions just by raising your awareness of what you're actually spending your money on. It's kind of a way to, if people are expressing I want to get better at this, that's a great way to get better. Just be a little bit more aware of what you're actually spending it on. Try to tie it to some
Right.
value that is important to you.
Well, and I think also I just thought of this too, not to be afraid of the fact that maybe you and your partner are kind of the opposites. You do have the yin and yang, so your
Yeah.
viewpoints are different. And we just had this conversation yesterday, and the response to what do you do and how do you work with people is like, oh, I can see how this is going. I'm going to come in and say this. My wife's going to come in and say that, and we're total opposite. And we look at
Yep.
each other like, perfect. That's exactly the perfect type of discussion and relationship we like to have. One, because we can relate, but two, because we know that does create some awkwardness and difficulty to kind of move, the ball forward, so to speak. So
Yeah, no doubt.
great topic.
Yeah. It's interesting. I will put obviously I put a little description on YouTube. In the description, I'll put the link if you want. It's a very short little report. It's really just a summary of research that's gone on around this subject. So I'll put it in there. If people want to read it, you can read through it yourself. But I thought it was pretty interesting and something to keep in mind when you're kind of dealing with your money and working with your spouse or partner when it comes to money. I think it's interesting to know about yourself.
Agreed. Great chat as always. See you next week.